Yeah, that's right. We are live on a Saturday. 2 hours of infotainment is what we offer you up. And thanks so much for being there to consume it. Maybe you're on the radio, 92.1 or 1017. We salute you. Of course, on your free download, your iHeartRadio app. We are worldwide. Thank you very much for finding your way in. And of course, we live stream on a Saturday as well. Give you a couple opportunities to join the live stream. A couple of easy ones too. If you're on Facebook, it's Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. Maybe you like to be on YouTube. That is a hub of a ton of informational chunk videos. Find Florida Talk Real Estate LLC on YouTube. Live stream with us on a Saturday morning. And good morning. Thank you very much for being with us. It's a toll-free number if you'd like to be a part of the program with your questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate. Want to just get involved with the conversation
Sorry for the interruption.
Flat's good.
Oh. Wait a second. What am I supposed to do here?
Mute.
Maybe Johnny
Yeah,
or
my-
your computer.
Oh, that's what I have to do.
How long have we been doing this now?
Oh my God, I have such a hate. Okay.
A couple weeks.
Okay, we got it
Couple
going.
weeks.
Hey, we're back
getting there.
on.
All right. So
Yeah, sorry about
should
that.
have audio now going out to YouTube. So.
Yeah.
All right. Hey.
Hopefully anybody can tell me that if we have sound, that would be great. Sorry for all the technical difficulties today. So we're at 666. We're basically flat. So I'm thinking that at the end of the year that we're probably going to be hovering right around 6%, maybe 585. So my guess is 585 to 605. That's pretty tight there. I'm
That
giving
is
a pretty
pretty
tight thing.
yeah.
So I really feel like that's the most realistic of all the scenarios. I'm not a big bull on that. We're going to have these magical 7 reserve interest rates drops. I'm not that. I also don't see any signs of the economy right now. As far as real estate, we're going to get into other things, but as far as real estate, everything's pretty good. Remember last week we said how many short sales and foreclosures on the market right now in the 6-county area?
4 something?
50.
Oh,
No,
wait a minute.
that was closed, right? But
That's right.
on the market, there's 50 short sales and foreclosures we checked last week, and I checked to see how many total properties. 39,000. There's 50.
Yeah.
Okay. So all this real estate market crash stuff.
I don't read a ton of it. Is it starting to bubble up?
It's the regular people when you call them on the database and you start talking to
okay.
regular
So
people. I'm not reading.
It's the mindset. I got
Yeah.
you.
And that's another thing that I didn't really ever think about before is that, we do have a little bit of the pulse of what's happening in the economy as much as those economists that are talking about it, because we're talking to regular people every day and asking them,
I feel like
what are your
I feel
needs
like
in
the
real
regular
estate?
people are pretty consistent, and they're consistent in this. I'm waiting for something.
Yeah,
right?
they're waiting for their Chicken Littles.
Well, I guess
Well, I'm not saying that it's
to me,
it might not be.
Here's what you need to either crap or get off the pot. Like what you're waiting for is for you to get in gear. Like that's my brass tacks from like talking to those people and seeing how it doesn't change. And I'm talking about a collection within Florida Talk Real Estate database.
Mhm.
I called that
yeah,
database
thousands.
for a year. Yeah. And it's still to this day, it's the same thing. I'm waiting. But it's always, I'm waiting for the market. I think the truth is I'm not ready. I'm nowhere near close. And it's because I can't get in gear. I don't know what that get in gear initiative is, but I think the constant is waiting.
Well, you do though, Johnny, because you
were
flipped
my
the
getting
switch.
gear.
No, I wasn't.
You were, and I think that's that's the value of the phone calls, because you can connect the dots here. Like you were in my ear every Saturday going, you have to buy a house. And I'm like, I gave you all the reasons why I'm either waiting or not interested, right? And you're like, you don't understand the scenario of the environment of the real estate market right now. It doesn't get any better. It's, trust me, you're not going to get
buy in the best.
Like
market.
we were coming out of the best,
right?
Because I waited so long, and
Yeah.
it took me almost a year to get in a position, even with a ton of help. You finally got something to click. Like your communication with me got me to go, you're right. I need you.
Well, I appreciate you giving me credit, but
that's the value of the phone calls.
And I appreciate that, Johnny, but I have a different recollection of that. Okay.
Do you?
Yeah, I have a different version of that. And it's close.
We're talking about when I bought a house.
Yeah, when you bought the house.
2014.
Yeah. So what I remember is that, and I joke about this with people sometimes. I go, yeah, so I told Johnny in 2012 when we got it, he's like, he told me before he even went on the show, I'm not an advocate of home ownership. Nope. So you can't expect me to go on the air and say something I don't believe. And I go, that's okay.
Right.
Have your opinion. Let's talk about it. No problem. But behind the scenes, I'm like, Johnny, you got to buy a house. You're missing out on a lot of future potential income growth for yourself through the equity in the house.
Well, and stability too. I mean, just stability.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stability in being a homeowner.
And you had all the excuses and the people in the database. And when people are at that level, you can't you only can lead a horse to the water,
That's
you
it.
can't make them drink, and
That's
that's okay. And you get there, and it's
And you
okay.
weren't trying to make me
No,
drink, but
I
you're
was
like,
not.
see the water?
Mhm.
It's right.
I'm like,
water.
hey, dude,
It's nice and cold too.
And then,
Oh, it's
yeah,
good.
it's so cold.
It's so good.
So-
there's
so
no
what
plastic
happened at first-
leaching into this water or anything. It's
He
good.
was like, no way, Jose. Then he got married. And then I was like, Johnny, now you got to buy the house. You're getting married. Now this is the really important time to get involved in home ownership for your financial future.
Right.
It's just going to help you out.
There's a kid coming, man.
And you were like, no
Nope.
way. You were like, I'm not doing it. And
Good.
then this is what I remember. You came to me finally. You're like, Jimmy, I got to buy a house. I'm like, what's going on? It's like, I'm having a kid. And that was the smart thing. But that was a really smart thing. But I feel like
be.
that was the big thing, is that when you realized you were going to become a father,
Yeah, that was the
that
switch.
it was like, I feel like with you, it was like, I got to get this together.
Maybe, and it might have been all the combination of
Yeah.
the
And you
clear direction that I was always getting. Because this show gives you a little underbelly view, the good, the
Mhm.
bad, the middle, like it does. There's not a lot of veiling of anything in the real estate market on this show. We don't. I know some people might hear, perception's not always reality. People might hear some things like, oh, they're trying to talk you into this. No. It's all informational. It's all about the reality of the situation. And it's never sugarcoating. I guess you could view an optimistic future telling, like, oh, I see things more optimistic for a year from now. I don't see that as a bad thing. That's just an opinion of what I see now, what I think is going to happen. But it's never been a show that does too much like sugarcoating. And even in your approach with me, it wasn't like a ton of sugarcoating. It was just reality based. Like,
Yeah.
this is what we're dealing with. But I can see all those dominoes connecting and then finally falling into my closing, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. It's so
But
awesome.
but that's the
10
one
years.
key thing though, is that it's always, I'm waiting for something, and it's never like Mike says it all the time. Mike Rao, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. You have to know what you're waiting for.
Mhm.
What is it? Is it a certain number? Because then at least you know what you're waiting for. Because I'm just waiting is not the answer. Because now we're waiting again. It's 2 years later, still waiting.
And here you are. This will be
I'm
year
going to be 10 years in
year
my house
10 in your house this
when I
year.
stopped waiting.
And even with the ups and downs in the market, because your house got to more than double what you paid for it at one point, you were more than 100% equity. I shouldn't say equity, 100% home value more than when you bought it.
Mhm.
It did slide back a little bit because the market started coming down. Not too much, though. I mean, you didn't lose a lot.
But
And
the
you're
only time
still
you're-
more than double.
The only time the value of your home truly matters is when you're going to
doing
sell it or
something.
refi.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. But the thing is, it's really nice to know that over 10 years, the value of your home doubled. You did put repairs into it and stuff, more than some other people have, because I know that at the first couple of years you did some, new AC, impact windows, or things like that.
oh yeah.
But
But,
that's value that stays with the house too. So.
exactly.
yeah.
So having that as an asset for you 10 years later, and the house has doubled, you bought at a time that a lot of people didn't want to buy, even though that investors were buying like crazy, but regular people weren't buying because a lot of them were like you. They were so burned in the last cycle or had relatives that were burned in the last cycle
Right.
that they were afraid they were going to become a victim of that.
Exactly.
And I understand that that's called PTSD. The
Sure.
nation had
Totally
PTSD.
is. Absolutely it is.
But
And a little tied to what you talked about earlier too. We took shots and got turned down.
but
but
rejected.
you just turned to the next one.
Mhm.
Literally stood in the living room that I live in right now, made an offer on a house 3 doors down while standing in the living room of the house that I live in. 3 doors down, made a beyond over the top offer.
Mhm.
They came back and said, well, we have multiple offers in this range. You're gonna have to, and we're like, all right, let's put an offer on this one at this price. Boom. And when we move in, like the week we move in, we're like, man, the band plays like in their backyard, huh? We can hear the band playing from the high school, right? That we live by,
Right.
but we're like, they're in their backyard. and that house sat on the market
It-
for months.
Yeah, I remember a few
past.
months after.
That
After
realtor.
you moved in.
Oh yeah, that realtor.
Oh, so those multiple offers
They
weren't
was all
real.
fell through, or it was a lie.
I think they
it
weren't
was,
real.
They were BSing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
they
trying
were-
to bring.
They were
okay,
BSing, trying to bring us up, and we were very direct. It was like, look, we have another house we could put an offer on. We'll take your house at this price. If not, and that
And
was
we gave them a little. We gave them a little more because we did
Mhm.
like that house. It was a little more ready made. It had
Mhm.
impact already.
Oh, okay. All right.
A little bit bigger backyard, nice pool. I remember the not the master, the primary bedroom had a
You're
It's
not a
okay.
realtor, Johnny.
We're
You could live.
PTSD. Don't cancel me. It had the bathroom with the door that went out to the pool, so you could like
Oh,
come
right.
in.
Okay.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
there was a couple of things that we were like vaulted ceilings in the one
Main area.
part of the main area. But so we were willing to offer a little bit more, but they pooped the bed on that one.
Okay.
And thankfully, because we've been like, man, the band is in our backyard.
Right.
And speaking of that kind of ties into something about negotiations. So with Joe and April, even though they only had we're getting back to the property in Lake Clark Shores, even though they only had like five showings in 40 something days or whatever, when we started negotiating with the person that did turn the offer, we countered back and forth several times in that process because we thought we were giving good value. Then we cut to Paul's property on the market about the same time, had a little bit more showings, but no offers, right? When I say a little more, he was on the market like 40 days. He only had like 8 showings maybe, okay? But nobody was turning offer. Then he got an offer and it was 98% or close to 98% of the list price. That was a house that was sitting empty that had carry costs, right? You had the HOA fee, the taxes, the insurance, the mortgage that was being covered over the time. All that was being covered by the homeowner for a house that they didn't expect to have. And it was an expense to them coming out of their pocket every month.
That just popped up.
Yeah. And
Sadly.
And when we looked at the competition in the neighborhood, when we got this offer that was roughly 3% below the list price, 2.5%, 3% below list price, there were other properties I felt were equal value to ours or even maybe a little better value. And I was afraid that if we didn't take this offer, they were going to go down to the street and grab one of those other houses, just like we did with yours, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I go, if you want to counter these people, it's okay. But they may walk completely. And you have to be okay with that because I don't know what they're going to do on this one. I think that they have other choices. So the owners decided, okay, we're going to take it and not negotiate. Well, the owner's girlfriend did not like that at all.
Oh.
And she called me up and she ripped me a new one.
Really?
Yeah, she was very upset. And I had to have what I call the tough conversation. And I always promise people when I meet with them the first time is that I'm going to tell you everything. So if there's not good news or there's some news I feel like you really need to hear, but it's really hard to even tell you because I don't even want to tell you because you don't want to tell people this. I'm going to tell you because that's one of the reasons why you should be hiring me is to have your back all the time and tell you about stuff that you might not realize.
Yep.
And she went into all this information that she had about the neighborhood, about why the house was probably worth way more than what we took. And she was using houses that were built in 2023. Her house was built in 2003. Okay, in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
But she was taking brand new houses never lived in and trying to compare it. And I go, an appraiser's never going to do that. Number one, you can't even use those. You got to just push those aside and look at the other. Right. You can't do that. And then there were some upgrades to the property that she felt had value. That's why the property got sold.
Well,
it wasn't
I'm sure
you
felt that. I'm sure you had the same value.
Right. Yeah. That's why we put the price in that we did. But that's why it sold over the other houses. But they weren't necessarily going to give extra money for those features, but it was going to get our house sold. So we had to price it right. So the owner decided to move forward, but there was I'm sorry. The owner decided to
put that back on.
I know, right?
About to boogie down.
I'm afraid we're going to get copyright infringement.
That's true.
So,
good point.
Yeah. So I had to have the real tough conversation. And I went over everything, respectfully. I went over everything, but she's a New Yorker. I am too. But I feel very comfortable that we did good. We'll have a better idea as the other houses close that were our competition.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
We're closing first.
Yep.
Right. And that's saving my guy money. So and what I explained to them, you could hold out. And if these people walk away, if we counter and they walk away and they didn't sound like they were in love with the house, right? They wanted the house, but I could tell they looked at stuff and this was the best right at that moment. So if they can get it, they're going to get it. But if not, they're moving on.
It's a totally different look than somebody that's all just hearts
Gotta
in their
have that.
eyes, just, oh, I love this house versus I could live in this house.
Yeah. And
totally different place.
And so what happened is what I explained to them, if you turn this offer down, you may be able to get more money, but we're talking about maybe 1 or 2% more total. And your carry costs are probably going to eat half of that, if not more, depending on how fast we get the next buyer. And you might not even get the same price. So you might get more, but you might get less.
Talking maybe like if you get a home run, like 10 grand more.
That would be a home run. That would be, wow. I made, in a
realistic world, we're thinking like maybe $3,000, $4,000.
I'm thinking five was the number. I'm like, you probably can get another 5, but if you have to hold on to it for 3 months, you're probably going to eat up almost all that 5.
That's a big risk.
So there's always tough, and really there's no wrong answer. And I told him the whole time, I go, there's no wrong answer. I said, look, I'm going to tell you what I think you should do, and I'm going to tell you why I think you should do it. But you don't have to do what I say. I'm only the consultant. You're the boss.
Yep.
You guys make the decision. I just give you the advice. And if you don't agree with me, I'm cool with that, because I know I told you the information I felt you needed. You took it. You made an informed decision.
That's right.
And now we move forward with that decision together as a team, not me being upset. Oh, you didn't take my advice. I just go in there and say, okay, if that's the path you want to take, I'm going down that path with you. Let's go make it happen.
That's right.
Right. So really important to understand that this market is which is what I was trying to get with all of these shout outs, is it's a very tricky market in today's market. And you really have to have people that are very experienced and understand the market really well. I just read today that, or I read yesterday that in Florida, how many real estate, now this includes part-timers and everything.
Okay.
How many licensed real estate agents do you think there are in the state of Florida? I finally read this yesterday.
All right, well, tell me how many there were pre-COVID.
I wish I could tell you.
Give me a ballpark.
I can't tell you.
40,000, 120 something.
Like that's the thing. I
don't even know where to start.
I didn't know either.
Such a big
I had
state.
no idea. Well,
so many people got into it too. So.
I want to say there's 123,000.
Okay.
Oh wow.
What do you think?
I would have gone like 10,000 or something like that.
Wow.
That was
220,000 agents. 220,000. Yeah, you're a slacker, man.
Oh my god.
You better go out and get your license, Sonny. Like bring these stars up. 220,000 real estate agents in Florida.
Well,
now,
how many are like full time though? Because just because
like
you have
20%,
your license doesn't mean
like 25% is like really doing anything. So
okay. So
yeah, but there's 220,000 licensed, right?
Yeah.
So and the average
so 50 active.
50.
Right?
What do you
that
mean?
would be 25% of 200.
Yeah, that would probably be
50,000 active.
When I say not active, that's active licensed real estate agents, but not. It doesn't count production. And you got to remember that the average agent in Florida does 8 to 12 deals a year. It's somewhere in between. It ranges each year, but it's between 8 and 12.
That's why we're always, regardless if you choose this team or not, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. You need to vet your professionals. And it starts by looking at the back of the card. Like, show me your stats. What do you do? Like, how well do you do? And if they can't show that to you, that is a clear pass.
Well, here's a real life example that just happened this week. Okay. Have a couple that I've been talking to. They're elderly on a fixed budget. One of them's very disabled. Okay. Really nice couple, super nice couple. They've been talking to us years and years, thinking about refi, homeowners insurance, just calls for a whole bunch of different stuff. This time they called up Mike and said, we want to try to get a loan. We want to sell our house and then buy a new home for a multi-generational situation where they want the kids to come in,
Oh,
right?
okay, right.
And
Okay.
that way they have a nice home. Mike checked all the numbers and said, as long as you sell your home, you could afford to buy the new home. And then Mike recommended that I give him a call to list the property. And here's the thing. They didn't need me for the buyer side because they already had a buyer's agent, but they didn't have somebody to list the property. And I'm like, this is so wild. Why wouldn't the buyer's agent be talking to him about selling the property if they need the money from the sale to buy the property?
Right.
And that agent never talked to Mike, not one time, right? And I'm meeting with the family to take the listing, and I'm like, this isn't a good deal.
Something's
This
wrong.
is all not the way this is going to go. It could be okay,
Yeah.
but it also could go south really, really bad for this
Because your
couple.
buyer agent is not like aware that you need the proceeds to sell this home in order to buy your new home. Like if they're not in that loop, you're not going forward very well.
And they're on a fixed budget.
Yeah.
The money they were going to take out for the deposit was going to be from the retirement fund.
And we all know the seller buyer is a delicate dance.
More than delicate dance in this one, Johnny, because that buyer's agent wasn't going to add a contingency they found the house. Remember, they found the buy, but they didn't even have the house on the market
And
yet.
no contingency.
So this buyer's agent was going to race forward, put an offer in on that other house with a significant deposit that they were taking out of the retirement fund with no contingency that they need to sell the house to buy the house.
Whew.
So what that means in real life
It's unbelievable.
is that right? Because Timothy went through this when he was doing his house,
I
right?
understand it. Yeah.
So with this couple, if they went forward that way and they couldn't sell their house, or they didn't sell their house for enough of a down payment to put on the other house and they couldn't get the financing, they would have lost their deposit.
They lose it.
So I sat down with the family and I'm like, I don't think this is a good idea at all, what you're doing. This is like, I'm very, very nervous for you because if anything goes wrong, you're the one that's going to be penalized severely. So I went down and I crunched all the numbers on the house for the sale. Then I looked at the property they wanted to buy. Then I said, how did you find your agent? I said, how did you find the agent that's going to be making the offer on this house? And they said, they don't know. And this is so common with buyers, right? They have no idea how they found the agent that's showing them the property.
Really?
It happens all the time. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but this is what happens. People decide they want to buy a house. They don't have any agent they're working with or even a mortgage company to tell them what to do. So they're like, hey, hon, let's go look for a house there. Or they see something on Zillow. So they want to go see it and they want to get inside. So what they do is they go on like Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, all those kind of portals. They call them virtual office websites, right? And you go in there and now you want to see 123 Main Street. Well, when you go on those websites, the dirty little secret behind those websites, how all those websites make their money is by selling advertising to agents who advertise their business on those sites. So it's very hard for the consumer to know who is the listing agent and who's just paying for advertising to be placed in front of them. And that's who this guy was. This guy was an agent who just paid Zillow, advertising fee. Me and Rob used to do it way back in the day. Not saying there's anything wrong with it necessarily, but that's what he did. They don't know anything better. That was a warm body that was going to show him the property.
Right there, right.
They went out, the person went out, showed him the property, but they decided not to do anything. They were ready to move forward. They wanted to write the contract right away, the agent.
Of course.
So then I went back and checked the agent's stats. The agent was from Boynton Delray, done 12 deals in the last 12 months. 6 of them were rentals. They were all in Boca and Delray, nothing in St. Lucie County, not even in Martin County, right? It was all Boca Delray.
South.
And most of it was rentals. And he had a couple of actives, but nothing at the price point that this family was looking at. And the funny part is he never followed. I mean, he followed up like once or twice and never followed up with them again and just like fell off the face of the earth. And that's the typical agent. That's the typical agent. 8 to 12 deals a year, right? They're doing a deal a month or less. And they don't understand contract law, and they're ready to write contracts for people, and it could be putting them at risk.
Massively.
And that's the difference between hiring professionally trained agents who are working full time all the time, take training every week, taking classes and understanding the market, understanding contract law, understanding all that, versus agents like, yeah, I got my real estate license, right? Nobody ever asks them their production. And you know why they don't ask for production? Why do you think that most people don't ask real estate agents for production?
I don't know. They're scared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
embarrassed.
Yeah.
They're embarrassed because they don't,
Oh, your question. It's they
Yeah,
don't
it's
want to
like-
question their experience.
right. And
okay.
I don't know about you, but if you were going to a doctor to perform a major life-threatening surgery on you or something, I'm asking, hey, have you done this before? And how many times have you done
Right,
it? And have you
right.
lost anybody?
Right.
When
was the
and-
last time you did it?
Yeah, exactly. Don't you want to know that if you were hiring? And the reason why I'm not trying to make it sound like real estate's life or death, but it's one of the biggest sales purchases people are going to do in their lives.
Well, so there's also a
Right.
bunch of you don't want to. There's the spectrum swings hard. There's the can you do it, and then there's the are you good at it, right? Just because you
Well, there's
can doesn't
that
mean
too,
you're
yeah.
great at it. You could. There's people out there that can do the process. They know what has to be done,
Mhm.
but negotiation is a huge part of this whole transaction. That's a skill. That's not just I know how. No, you have to, and that's just a minute part of this whole thing, the biggest transaction that you're probably ever going to have, buyer or selling a home. The negotiation part alone is the value and experience. I mean, just that part alone, but all the moving parts, the nuance, the little minutia, there's so much involved that can go wrong.
And being able to anticipate those things ahead of time
Through
I think-
experience.
through experience.
It kind of happened yesterday with me. With one of my customers, I don't want to get into it because it's so fresh, but one of my customers, we were negotiating and we were taking a number that was a little disappointing. I'm being honest. Okay. But there was reasons why we were taking this lower number and there wasn't a lot we can do about it, but we were really fighting to make sure we weren't taking any less, like not a penny less. And we were dealing with an agent on the other side that's a full-time investor also. So yesterday, they came back and asked for a discount for inspection, and we negotiated pretty hard up front. So we told them, look, this is the number, no more, right? But when they came back, they came back and asked for more. Now, I expected that to happen because they're investors.
Right.
Investors are always going to ask until you tell them no.
Mhm.
So my favorite saying, you can't get it if you don't ask. But this one really kind of peeved me because of some other situation. And I really wanted to tell this guy to go away. Yeah. And it wasn't that I was mad at the guy. The way the negotiation went, I'm like, I so wish I had another buyer
Offer,
to
yeah.
be working with
Right.
on this one. And so I had to call the family back and say, hey, they're still asking for more money after the inspection. I feel like the inspection report came back pretty good. Didn't see a lot of like major stuff. We already gave the discount that you agreed to give. I'd really like to tell them to go pound salt, but here's what you need to know is that there is a chance they could walk away because I believe that the buyer may be an investor, the agent's an investor, but the buyer might be an investor too. So this might be a number thing. And if they don't get the number they want, it doesn't make financially sense to them, then they're moving on.
They'll move on. Yeah.
So you could either take the counter and guarantee that they're going to move forward because this is it, or we can counter, right? Or tell them we just don't want to do anything. We'll put it back on the market. And I go, I'm okay with putting it back on the market, but we have been on the market for a while. I don't know how long it's going to take again. Do you have the stomach to wait? Right. So they thought about it. They called me back and go, we're going to take your option number one, because I gave them like 3 options. They go, option number 1 was tell them no. If you don't want to close with the terms we originally agreed to, we're putting it back on the market. We don't care. So that's exactly what we told them. And then they caved, right? Which is kind of what I thought was going to happen.
Right.
But that could have went the other way where they just said, you know what? Not doing it. And we were arguing over 0.75% of the total sales price.
Yeah.
Right. So even that we're getting kind of granular there.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. But for an investor, again, They have their number, their
Mhm.
margin, and if they can't hit it, they just move on. There's no tie there emotionally. It's an investment. It's on to the next one.
Or in this case, sounds like a little bit of a bluff.
Yeah,
You know,
and it
sounds like they were just,
Yeah.
slight bluff.
Or you
Yeah,
did investing. You just ask for everything. And
Yep. Until they
sometimes-
tell you no.
Yeah.
And that thing, and I actually said it to the agent. I'm going, really? 0.75%. That's what what's the point of even making the phone call? Really? I mean, it's like you should just close,
You're
right?
killing me here.
Yeah, you're driving me crazy. And the family was going through a
Kill
lot
me, Smalls.
personally.
Killing me.
I
You're killing me, dude.
You said that. I heard that.
And like 5 minutes later, just 5 minutes after that conversation, I said, let me know, either buy the house or don't buy the house. I don't care. I want to if you're not buying it, let me know right away, because I want to put this thing back on the market right now. Right. And I was really pushy about that. And as I was hanging up, I look at my phone. They already made the second deposit. So I was like, this is total bluff time. Like Jimmy was saying, it was a total bluff time. That's what they were doing. They're just trying to get that little extra bite at the end. Yeah. But, and I handled both those cases differently. With that case, I negotiated. We were willing to take the risk, blah, blah, blah. The other case, we decided, you know what? We got a decent price on this house. I don't want to risk anything, right? Let's go ahead and move forward and close, right? Same kind of situation, but two different reasons of how we handled it differently.
Sure.
Right. And, we got good results. Paul closed on his house on Thursday.
Excellent.
Yeah. So congratulations. Thank you, Paul, for trusting us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go ahead and take a break. On the flip side, Johnny, you know what we're going to talk about? We're
What?
going to talk about credit card debt and some other stuff that's kind of crazy. And you're going to tell me about car foreclosures, because I haven't heard about that.
Interesting conversation the
Good.
other day. Yes. We got a lot more to get into, and you're more than welcome to be a part of it. It's toll free at 877-927-6969. I'll remind you again, don't worry, 877-927-6969. Of course, if you're not comfortable on the radio, you have access to the entire team. Pros. We call it the one-stop real estate shop for a reason. You got them all at floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. You'll find the hotline there. Call it anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 888-973-7828. 888-973-7828. You'll find that hotline at floridatalkrealestate.com. 4 minutes from now, we get back at it. Hour number 2, Derek Jeter. Hour number 2 of Florida Talk Real Estate in 4 minutes, right here on Real Radio.
The bad news, the brain isn't all that great at hearing stuff and remembering it. The good news, you can watch us too. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Real Radio 92.1. Real Radio weather.
From the Gordon Partners Weather Center. Have you been injured in a motor vehicle accident? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
Meteorologist Charlotte Carl with CBS 12 News. That front continues to move throughout the rest of today, keeping our rain chances around, maybe an isolated rumble of thunder. Temperatures cool as winds start to shift out of the north. And tomorrow, with that front stalling to our south, we continue to see a chance for an isolated shower.
This report is sponsored by Fresh from Florida.
Meal planning is work, so let Fresh from Florida help. Learn what's in season, browse hundreds of recipes, and get tips from Chef Justin by visiting freshfromflorida.com. Eat healthier with Fresh from Florida. There's sunshine in every bite.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Kamaranets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
From the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Listen on your free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Here we go. Hour number 2, 2 hours of infotainment every Saturday. Great to have you with us. If you're on the radio, we salute you. Maybe on the free download, your iHeartRadio app. Thank you very much. And you can always jump on. We do a live stream, Facebook and YouTube, Florida Talk Real Estate on both. Thanks for being with us on a Saturday. Us, that's me, Johnny C. Jimothy's our producer extraordinaire. What's up, dude?
Hello, and good morning,
Good
Mr.
morning,
C.
my brother. You guys doing locker room today, yes?
Sure are, yep. 4 hours of sports entertainment.
That's a beautiful thing.
They got something going on. What's offs? Something when you play or playoffs? Something like that going on?
What are you talking, hockey or something?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Something with a ball.
Oh, the Bulls are over.
Oh, the Bulls
Yeah,
are
the
over?
Bulls are all over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
those ended.
Oh, pickleball.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be very NFL playoff centric.
Sure.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we're all going to become weathermen, too, because there's 2 games that obviously weather's going to be a big deal.
Listen to this. So people are kind of freaking out over the Dolphin game being on Peacock.
Oh,
I am.
I've
Are
seen
you
that.
don't have Peacock?
I don't have Peacock, and I'm very angry, but I have NFL Plus.
All right.
I think NFL Plus, you can stream it on NFL
Ooh,
Plus.
I don't know about that. Maybe. You might be right.
I spent a half hour reading YouTube stuff and Google stuff about this. I'm pretty confident.
Well, that's the melodious tones of our fearless
Sorry,
leader.
yeah.
That's Jimmy D, Jim DePaul. He runs a top producing Keller Williams team, Keller Williams Innovations. You find the Florida Home Pros team. There's Jimmy D.
But everybody's freaking out about this. So what were you going to
Yeah,
say?
they are. So I listen to this. Peacock for this one game paid $110 million. One game.
So at $11 a month, right? $11 a month, because I just read, because you know what I was going to do is like, I'm so angry about this, I'm just going to sign up and then I'm canceling immediately after, right? Because I'm so angry about it. That's what a lot of people are going to do. But then I was like, I don't even want to give them anything.
Yeah.
So then I was like looking and I looked at my like YouTube thing because I thought I had an NFL thing on YouTube, but I didn't. And then I realized, oh, I think I have NFL Plus, and I looked, and it's there. And I'm very mad at the Sun Sentinel today because I read the article about how you can watch the show, and the reporter, I'm not going to call out the person's name, but the reporter only talked about how you can watch it locally in Broward or Dade.
Right. Yeah, you have to be able to on that Miami 6.
Yeah, you got to be NBC 6
Right.
Yeah.
Or Kansas City.
or Kansas City
right.
or Peacock, but they didn't send NFL Plus, and I'm positive that NFL Plus has it because
Really?
when I went on the app, you can see that the game's scheduled. But I'll find out. And so if I'm wrong, I'm going to be cursing the world like paying Peacock at the last minute. I'm sure it's going to crash because there's going to be so many people paying Peacock at one time, and I'm probably not going to see the game.
They've been trying to
hope-
prep people for it.
Yeah, I would hope that they would be able to on NFL Plus.
Yeah,
But I
think-
haven't heard anything on that, and it's only been Peacock. Peacock does have like a $6 tier too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have an ad one where
with
you just
ads,
pay.
yeah.
Yeah, which is exactly what I was going to
And-
do.
And
Watch the ads.
you notice too, I don't know if anybody else saw this, but we looked into it. Apparently, they disabled the part where you get like a week trial for free.
Nice.
Because of
Oh,
course,
yeah.
everybody was going to do that, right? They'd
Mhm.
sign up for a week and then cancel it, right? And not have to pay anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but
I don't think that's a possibility.
that is a huge number. It shows you, like,
Oh
so
my
the
God,
NFL,
100
the
million.
NFL
Why?
has the whole world by the gonads. It
Yeah,
just does.
yeah.
It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And Peacock's like, so we want a playoff game. They're like, okay, we'll give you one game for 110 million. They're like, all right. That's so insane.
Now,
Wow.
it's,
So
Prime,
if you-
Prime didn't even get a playoff.
If you
$1 billion that Prime paid
Yeah.
for what 16 games.
They didn't even get a playoff game. Now they did get that Black Friday schedule, right? So they get Thursdays and they got the Black Friday schedule, but they don't get a playoff game.
So if you figure that the average person is going to pay $8 because it's $6 and $13, I think. So we just average out
okay,
to 8,
right.
and you take 110 million, you divide it by 8, you come out with 13,750,000 people. So they'd have to get 13,750,000 accounts for the game to make it break even.
And that's just for the cost of coverage. That doesn't, add in the factor of the other costs that go along with the actual broadcast itself,
Sure.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
but they get to charge for the advertising,
Yeah,
the
sure, sure.
advertising. So I'm sure they're going to
You know
be
what's
charged a
amazing?
premium
So
for that
you
because
don't-
they're going to be the only game in town.
You don't
no,
watch
no
a-
pun intended.
You don't watch
Yeah,
you don't
true.
watch Peacock. On Peacock, it's interesting. There's a lot where you're like, why are they not running an ad right now?
Huh.
It's wild because
Huh.
when you're watching Peacock, we've had Peacock since its inception because we've had the WWE network. And then when they merged with Peacock, we got Peacock immediately because of the WWE. But obviously, it's cool. It's all right. It's a decent streaming service now that I can watch a playoff game on. It's a little even that much
yeah,
better.
it makes it better now.
But there's a bunch of times when they go to ad where it's just like it's just all Peacock. Stay tuned. We'll be back in minutes. And it's just
wow,
you're
they don't put-
missing
yeah.
a lot of ad space there. A
And
lot.
I've noticed that too on YouTube TV when you watch something like ESPN. I was watching some of the bowl games, right? So because they go to the national commercials, right, and then they come to the locals. Well, there's no local, right? So you just get that. Well, listen to this Zen.
Right.
And I just
Mhm.
thought the same thing. Like
Yeah.
somebody should be selling this.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
They're missing out on a ton
A
of
ton.
money.
They absolutely
They
are.
are. They are. So if you do need to buy Peacock to watch the game, right? Maybe you're going to put it on your credit card. Is that a good segue?
That's a great segue.
So
Well, you're gonna have to, right?
uh,
Unless you do it on your bank card. Who
I
does
know
that?
I'm teasing. It was
Right.
a bad segue. I did it on purpose.
No, it's fun.
It's a good one.
I like
But
It's relevant.
I guess
You're gonna
20
end up for that $6 to watch this one game. You're gonna end up paying $3,700 for that.
exactly.
If you don't
right?
pay your credit card off.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just so you know.
So you're going to pay interest on that Miami Dolphin game for a very long time. I guess 2023, one of the big financial moments of 2023 is debt. And they said debt dominates 2023 credit card years in review. And I don't know if everybody remembers, but between 2019 and 2021, we had the lowest amount of credit card debt ever recorded since they started recording this stuff. Now, we always have super high credit card debt, Americans do. But we got a lot of money from COVID and all that, and people stayed home a lot, and they didn't need as much money.
Yeah, there's a real obvious reasons why that happened. It's not just we became fiscally
Yeah, it
responsible.
isn't like we
It's
got
just,
smart.
There's
Yeah,
real clear cut reasons why that happened.
exactly. And now we're hitting records. We have over $1 trillion. We hit $1 trillion of actually revolving credit card debt that was not paid off by Americans. Two months in a row, November and December. We had over $1 trillion in revolving credit card debt not paid off. We are usually in
Great
the
job,
nines.
America.
Yep, great job.
America.
So this is what I think. And now they're saying that we're having higher defaults. Now the defaults aren't as scary as, well, I might be reading this wrong because I'm not an expert on this stuff, right? But what they're saying is,
So that means no minimum payments being made. They get into default.
yes, and what they're saying is, I want to tell you the statistics.
First default is what? 30
Okay,
day
by
late?
the way, Florida ranks number 7 for credit card debt. Yay! Out of the 50 states,
nice. Top 10.
Jersey,
Top 10.
Play it
Jersey,
again.
Jersey, Maryland, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Florida. New Hampshire, Rhode Island,
So
they have higher credit card debt than us.
I would
What the heck?
imagine the states that have the more people would be higher on the list, and considering we're
no.
third in population, we should be up there. What do you do in New Hampshire?
Yeah, and
Stop.
Rhode Island. Come
Yes,
on, Rhode
small
Island. come on.
population. Stop
I was
running
gonna
your
say,
credit
is that-
card debt.
Is
Where's-
that the
where's
percentage
Stella?
by per capita, or is it
Overall.
is it an
let's
actual
see.
number?
Overall,
Let's see.
Because that always fascinates me. I mean, you work the numbers how you want, right, Johnny? I mean,
Right.
you know how it works.
Just to give you an idea, what that means is the top 8 states with the highest average credit card debt. It's about 8,000 to 8,700
highest average.
is the highest averages in the country, right? The lowest is Mississippi with 5,600. So it isn't like tremendously different. There's only $2,500 difference between the lowest state and the highest state, right? But we're looking at about 7,000 average for the nation is what they're saying.
That's per card or total credit card debt?
It says
Per family, per person,
per family. Yeah, so it
Okay.
could be multiple credit cards.
Doesn't
Okay.
feel terrible.
Now it says, yeah, it
Does in my
says
house.
percentage. What percentage of credit card counts carry a balance?
All of them? 100?
No, actually, let's see. 56% carried an active balance.
Really?
Only 50 in the third quarter of 2022. So almost half the people pay it off every month,
Or at least have cards that they don't use.
or cards they don't use.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's almost like
true,
paying it
yeah.
off every month in a way. I
it's a
mean,
zero
like you're
balance,
not
I
using
mean,
it. Yeah, it's like
yeah.
you're not using
But if
it.
it's not active, you're not.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Now, let me see. I'm sorry. Oh, there's even a used card. Oh, they even have it, but they have it broken down, Johnny, for you. Okay. So
Just
of
for
the
me.
50 of the yeah, just for you. Of the 56% that carried a balance, 56% carried a balance. Okay. 23% of them had the card but didn't use it. 43% carried some kind of balance during that month and then paid it off. And 34% used the card but never carried a balance. Okay. So they paid it off immediately. And the other
Immediately.
ones, they paid it off a little bit
Yeah.
later. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
Now, as
that's
far
great.
as defaults,
So it's a good chunk of people are really responsible with it, and then it's a big chunk is just not
the
for
a-
one reason or
Right,
another.
Yep.
It might be need.
the average APR for the credit cards right now,
Ooh, can
in
I
the-
guess?
yep,
Average APR 17.9.
Yeah, I was gonna say average. So yeah, it'd be like 21. I mean, go a
Ooh,
little
maybe
higher.
I might go a little lower. 13.
Ooh,
okay. The answer is Jimmy hit it. 21.19.
wow.
Okay, that's the average for all credit cards. With credit
Average.
cards accruing interest, the average in the third quarter was 22.7, and for brand new credit cards, right, is 24.59 for new credit cards. And we know that a lot of people are applying for credit cards because we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
We
So it's
sure did.
24.59. Now that's the highest recorded since 2019 when they started tracking this.
Wow.
So we've never been at 24.59 before.
No, that's insane.
Now, as far as delinquencies, which I think is important, how many Americans are currently delinquent with their credit card payments? Now, let me which means that they had outstanding balances that are currently 30 days late. What percentage of the borrowers are 30 days late on their credit cards?
I'll stay with that half number.
A 0.5%?
No. I have like 46%.
46%?
Oh, wow. That seems high.
Is it?
Maybe 10?
2.98
Oh, wow.
that are 30 days late.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was extrapolating the ones that
I
were.
thought you were high.
Yeah,
so that
no,
didn't, I was like,
going,
Johnny, you're better than that.
Yeah, I was. Going, I'm starting at a different place, but even when my place I'm starting at, still not enough.
Yeah, so only two. So it
It's
isn't as bad. So even though that we're seeing, so when you and I read these articles all the time about credit card, because we both think that's a canary in the coal mine,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
What I think I've learned on this is that while people are starting to become more delinquent, the amount of people involved are very small still, but the increase is going up fast, right? So
Yeah,
it's
so
a
if I-
small amount of people, but the amount of people going into that are increasing very fast.
That was going to be my question. Is that number going up, or is
It
it
is.
steady, or
It's going up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and wait till they keep applying for more credit cards. That's the worst part. At
And then-
24.
At 24.59%. Yeah.
So I even if I adjust my numbers from a different start point that I was at, I was still guessing like 20%, which is way too much.
Now I get why everybody's complaining about the inflation. I finally, in my mind, I had a lot of epiphanies last night when I was going through all this stuff, right? I figured out what I thought the interest rate was going to be, because it really bothered me that I didn't know in November. Because, every year by November, I'm like, I know what's going to happen next year.
Right.
And I'm not always right, but I'm right a decent
pretty
amount
close,
of time.
Yeah.
But this year I had no idea, and I really didn't. But now I feel confident with that. What did I say? 5.85 to 6.05. Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, with the credit card debt, with the inflation, the disconnect of the Americans saying that the economy sucks and then actually looking at the metrics for the economy, we're not at 100% on everything. No economy's like that. Even when we were under the administration before this and the administration before that, we all three of those economies did well. Okay.
Yep.
The only one that wasn't was the fourth administration, which was Bush, right? But Obama turned the problem after we had the crash. It took a long time, but he turned it around. Then Trump took the baton. His economy was very strong.
Yep.
But
COVID got in the way, but it was
Yep.
ramping up for the 2 years prior.
And he was doing very well. And even with COVID, and everybody gets so upset about all the political stuff, whether you agree with it or not, he didn't, the president complained about the vaccines, but the vaccines were created under his administration. I'm not saying he created them. Yeah. But what I'm saying,
complain about him. He did.
I know, but a lot of people were like making a big deal, but they did all the right things to keep the economy going as best they could, in my opinion. And it started bouncing back a little bit before the end of his term. And then Biden came over and he took the baton from Trump, and really the economy is as good, equally good. I wouldn't say better, but equally good as Trump's. There's some deficiency there. The inflation, of course, is the big outlier. We also had a big spike in gas, but we had a big spike in gas during the last administration one time too, way early in the administration. That isn't really a president most of the time, not the president's situation, right? So overall, the economy's been pretty strong. And what I haven't got, and most economists, if you read the big wonky people like Paul Krugman from the New York Times and stuff like that, they don't understand why Americans saying economy sucks, but then they look at the stats as economists like, hey, we're very healthy, especially compared to the rest of the world. We're super healthy.
I think it's all just absolutely looking in the mirror saying it sucks, because they look at their coffers and go, man, I've got no money in the bank. Look how much debt I have. The economy sucks. So hold on a second. Wait a minute. What?
Well, I'm kind of agreeing with you on that now. I feel like the credit card is a good glimpse into the people's psychology. So what's happened is, to me, it looks like, even though that they feel that the economy's bad, people are still spending, like you and I said, right? They're still spending. That's why we're seeing the credit card increase, their credit card applications increasing. Nobody wants to stop their spending, but they complain that everything's too expensive because of inflation. They're fueling that inflation themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like this self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yep.
And nobody wants to take responsibility, and they're throwing it, they just throw it onto the government. I'm not saying any specific group. I'm just talking about politics in general. Oh, it's all the politicians throw the bums out. Well, I couldn't understand why they feel like that. Well, when you're paying 22 to 25% for the stuff you're putting on your credit cards because you don't have enough money cash to pay what you want to pay, that's where I think everybody's like starting to, I think that's where the disconnect is. They still want to have the lifestyle they have. So what they do is they just throw it on credit card debt. The credit card debt went up high because of the interest rates. Even if you were keeping your balances relatively low for you, if you did that, let's just say that you kept your credit card balances at 50%. You never paid them off, but you kept them at 50% of the limit. And you knew that was your budget and you were okay with that. And then all of a sudden, the interest rates started going up with the Fed. And all of a sudden, your credit card bills are going up, not because you're spending more money, right? But because the interest rates went up and now you're paying all this extra money and you're not even paying down any of the debt. I think that's where the disconnect is right now because unemployment is strong. You know, I just heard somebody on the radio complaining about how the job market sucks. And I'm like, you know, what world are you living in? I'm not saying that everybody can get the perfect job that they want, but if you want work, it's out there. Then it's your job to find the best job that fits for your lifestyle.
Yeah, pay still sucks, but
yeah,
I mean
it does.
That's always been the case. But I remember there was a run there for a few years where it's like, oh, pay's going up, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know anybody that's getting paid more.
I just don't. I just read
unless they work more.
For some people, I think we've seen some states increase.
Never blanket.
Florida's going up to 15 an hour this year. You know, some of us are getting a raise this year for the first time in a long time.
Sure, minimum wage going up is great. But that's man, you talk about a lagging caboose.
Oh yeah, that's so far behind. Even the increases don't. It is.
Decades
We're still behind.
Decades.
Well, and especially with inflation, right? So all this inflation is eating up any of those raises that have gone in. So
now, speaking of inflation, everybody keeps talking about how bad inflation is. Now, I'm just going off the stats you read every day. So I'm not, you know, I'm just basing on what collectively I've seen over and over again. So what was the top inflation rate that we got to? Like I have this memorized, 9.1, right? So we got all the way to 9.1% inflation. Now we're at somewhere between like 3.1 and 3.6 from what I understand.
Wild to me. I just don't feel, I don't feel like they shaved that off.
Well, here's the thing I found really interesting. The last 2 or 3 months, the increase in the inflation, like the increased growth of inflation, like how fast inflation's growing, is only 0.1% for like the last 3 months. So it isn't, so we're almost flat, right? And they think that's going to get us down to that 2%, you know, that we've hit the peak and now we've flattened out and now we're going to start going down.
But by no longer raising rates, right, to try to slow spending, now we're shifting into potentially lowering rates.
So that will be good for cars and credit cards, right?
Well,
and houses.
Potentially, yeah.
The reason why I'm saying
I'm not sure how we go from flat to down to the 2% based on what we're doing.
Well, right.
It tells you that it's all BS.
You and I are on the same. You and I are on the same page of this, Johnny, because I don't get it. We're finally going to get to that magical 2% number if we do, right? And then what are you going to do right away as soon as it happens? Okay, let's turn on the spigots again. Let's everybody go shopping, right? How long is that going to last before they go, whoa, we're overheated again? That's why I think we have that potential to be that up and down, up and down, up and down. And part of it is the dysfunction of Congress and politics in general, because they're not even all on the same page. They're not even all on the same page in their individual parties. They're not even on the same page as parties, okay? So for them to get their junk together so they can create a cohesive plan to not have us go through that up and down, up and down, up and down in a very short period of time. I don't think it's there. I don't think we have the infrastructure and the infrastructure in order to make that a smooth transition. I think we're going to go through a lot of rocky road stuff and be very reactive.
Yeah, well, and it's so unfortunate that we have to go through it, and it's the worst part is how it so dramatically affects the real estate market. I mean, it's just directly tied. As we're seeing more and more credit card issues, it's just less and less buyers.
Yeah.
More and more people, debt to income is not right. It's just they're not going to be positioned, even if they have the income and the cash, right? If you don't have your DTI, you're not going to be able to get the loan.
Debt to income.
Yeah, debt to income. So like when that becomes your hurdle, you're like, I got plenty of cash in the bank, which bless you if you do, because I don't know how many do at this point. I'm sure plenty. And you make enough, for your monthly obligation. Like you got a good job, you got a good household income, you got money in the bank for your down, you're everything's good. That DTI might be the difference between you getting that loan and not.
It really,
just a float, right? That's terrible. So then what's your decision? Well, I'll pay off these credit cards. Now you don't have any cash.
You don't have the cash. The only thing I could see that could help is that if the Fed starts dropping the rates, those payments will start going down for the credit card, not the cars, because they're fixed, right? But the credit card payments will actually be lower, even if nothing changes on your spending or the amount of money you're paying every month. It will go down. That will help. But what do you think they're going to do? Average person is just going to start spending more money on their credit card. Oh, my monthly bill's only this now. I can pay a little bit more. I'll just put that car bill on there or whatever I have to do.
So you mentioned the car bill. I talked to this guy, not a friend, an acquaintance, but I see him once a month or so. And I'm always like, oh, hey, how's business? What he does is he's
bookie.
Exactly. No, he does.
I see him once a month.
He does auto
In their
loans.
case, I call it a VIG.
Does auto loans for a big name. So he does a lot.
Yep.
And I'm always curious to see like how we're jumping up.
Yeah,
because it's really, I mean, it just as the interest goes up, the number, it's just not really settling into it. This time, I just saw him the other day, and he goes, remarkably, the used car market is really pushing down big time.
Right.
I was like, okay, interesting. He's like, yeah, if you're in the market for a used car, he's like, give it a couple more months. He's like, they're really starting to push down big time.
Inventory's
coming up. Yep. So that's going to cause even more weight pushing down on if you're looking for a used car. This guy, and this is one man's opinion, but I ask him every month when I see him, and he's been really spot on for a year. He goes, yeah. So it's if you're looking for a used car, wait a couple more months. Like you're going to get a little bit better number for sure, unless you have to. He's like, but you're doing good right now. But new, he's like, man, or he's like, I just did a loan yesterday. It's a new, it's a truck, right? So we know trucks are expensive. He's like, dad getting it for his daughter, and he's like, and I'm only when I'm gone, she's gonna worry about it. I don't care what it is right now, which is a fascinating approach. He's like, what do you think the monthly nut is on that? And I nailed it.
$1,200 a month.
A little more.
I was gonna say 14.
Okay, a little more.
No way.
17.
Oh my God. A rent payment.
It was six figures.
Mortgage.
I bet,
almost.
right? It was six figures, bottom line.
I didn't ask him the total. Because
It
I'm
would
only
be
looking
very
for
close
that.
to six figures. I would think so.
I think most truck, like the higher end trucks, like start at like 70 now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
But $1,700 a month.
Wow.
Can you imagine signing up for that and then thinking that you have a future like to buy a home? You'd have to make a lot of money to do that. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know how people do it, Johnny. I really don't. I was reading an article not too long ago that there was like this one Nissan is the only car that you could get that was under 20,000, and at that it was like $19,999. But that was a stripped down version for the news article, right? I don't know how people are affording these vehicles.
Is it Versa?
I think so.
Yeah, it's a Versa.
1,700 a month makes my mouth drop. I remember when we were talking last year, we said people were paying $1,000 a month for the car, and we started talking about that.
That's only gone up, but not by a little. It's gone up by hundreds in the last year or so. But he's like, man, because I always ask him, I'm like, how we getting on that foreclosure slope? Is it coming? The slope coming? Because there's a number, where it's just too much. But people still take that obligation on, and then it's going to weed them out, right? Like, and I don't know if it wipes out a ton off the coffers, but there's going to be a bunch of people at that super high end price. They end up middle of the night getting their vehicle taken back because they haven't made a payment in 4 months.
Right.
He said it's coming. He's like, wait till about the start of the second quarter.
You think the second
this year?
quarter?
You think?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
okay.
the only
He
thing
says
that
it's going to switch. It's going to kick on.
it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see that, because the only way that I see that happening is to see unemployment start spiking. If
Well, that's
people
what I
got
said.
their
I'm like,
jobs.
that tells me that we're in
Yeah.
for a world of hurt. But I guess the delinquencies are starting to kick in. Everybody always, when you're there and you drive it and you're like, I can pay it, I can do it. It's one thing that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And you
Mhm.
find quickly, you're like, wow, that's a lot to carry.
And I think people also fall into that same thing that where we preach here, knowing your numbers with a house, right? So you get a new house, and with that comes homeowners insurance, right? Same thing with vehicles. You have to have insurance. Well, if your value of your vehicle is 20, your insurance is here. If you get a value, a vehicle that's worth 80, well, your insurance is going to double. I mean, you don't think of that when you're signing a bottom line, but it's an extra cost that's there that they don't consider into the monthly payment.
Oh, and the auto insurance, look, our property insurance gets all the attention. Our auto insurance across the board are going up in Florida.
Insane.
Yeah, especially Palm Beach County and Broward.
Yeah.
Oh, it is insane. It's getting crazy out there.
Let's go ahead and take a break. On the flip side, we're going to continue with that theme, Johnny, because the article I wanted to talk to you about is called The Great Wealth Realignment. Affluent people keep moving to New York and San Francisco, moving from New York and San Francisco to cheaper, warmer places. But, we're becoming expensive too. And I wanted to kind of get into that a little bit. How about we do that on the flip side?
Sounds excellent to me. We got a 4-minute little reset. We get back at it. Thank you very much for being with us. And you're welcome to be a part of the show. It's toll free, 877-927-6969. Of course, if you're not comfortable on the radio, but you need to speak with a pros pro, one of the easiest ways is to remember FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. You got the hotline there, the contact, and of course, remember Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook as well. Great way to reach out. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it. You can change lives at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. 4 minutes from now, we're back at it. Florida Talk Real Estate right here. It's Real Radio.
What's a Real Radio podcast? It's Real Radio on demand. Find your favorite show at realradio921.com. Here's what's happening with the weather on Real Radio.
From the Gordon Partners Weather Center, have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
Meteorologist Charlotte Carl with CBS 12 News. That front continues to move throughout the rest of today, keeping our rain chances around, maybe an isolated rumble of thunder. Temperatures cool as winds start to shift out of the north. And tomorrow, with that front stalling to our south, we continue to see a chance for an isolated shower.
This report is sponsored by Fresh from Florida.
Meal planning is work, so let Fresh from Florida help. Learn what's in season, browse hundreds of recipes, and get tips from Chef Justin by visiting freshfromflorida.com. Eat healthier with Fresh from Florida. There's sunshine in every bite.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7. Real talk for the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
We got a little bit of time on a Saturday. We got 23 minutes for you. If you got a question, comment, concern, you want to dive in, go ahead, dial it up. 877-927-6969, toll free. Johnny C, that's me. Jimothy's our producer extraordinaire.
Hello, hello, and good morning, gentlemen.
Just talked to a Greek. He's ready to go for a locker room show here. Bullpen getting warmed up.
You know, Greek's in trouble when he's asking for technological questions from me.
I thought the same
That's
thing.
not
I was
happening.
like, oh, no. No, you were spot on, Jimmy D.
I kind of knew what I was doing, but I was kind of faking it.
Yeah, pro's pro over here. There's our fearless leader, Jim DePola, runs the top producing Keller Williams team. I've told you for 12 years now. Keller Williams Innovations, you find the Florida Home Pros team. There he is, Jim DePola. Jimmy D, how you be?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm doing good. Happy South Florida, everybody. We're going to wrap up this show talking about a little bit about the wealth migration, which I really feel like when we look back at, I don't know how long this trend's going to be, but from 2020 until whenever this trend ends, we're really changing the state of Florida, the makeup of Florida right now. I'm not saying it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, it's just change.
Yep.
And I'm very fascinated by the way it's changing. So, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this because yesterday somebody was trying on the Bill Maher show, Live with Bill Maher.
Yeah.
Somebody was trying to convince him about why it's so great for moving from California to Florida, right? And he was really pushing all the politicky stuff about why you should move from California to Florida. And Bill Maher, what a great line. He goes, yeah. And they were talking about how much cheaper it would be to live in Florida. And he goes, yeah. He goes, they have effing flying cockroaches. I'm not moving there. And the guy had just moved to Florida, the guy who was pitching it, and he shut him down really fast, right? He says, they have effing flying cockroaches. I'm not going there. And then the other guy goes, they do? It's like he looked a little worried. He didn't have any idea about the flying cockroaches.
I haven't had them yet.
We had one in here the other day over there.
I know.
Franny was sitting over there, and there was one up on the wall, and Greek pointed it out, and I have never seen Franny freak out. And she did. So I came in with my my beaver hat, and I smacked it and killed it, and that was the end of that. But oh my goodness, that was funny.
It's like Joseph Herbert in here.
A lot of people don't know about the flying cockroaches until they move down here. And the thing that's so I know I call them flying cockroaches. But the thing that's so funny about it, they're noisy. They don't bite you or anything, but they're super noisy when they're flying around. The wings flapping and everything. Right. And anyway, I just thought that was so funny with Bill Maher. He's like, they have effing flying cockroaches. I'm not moving there. And I've brought that up before. So we are going through apparently what everybody's saying, and I believe it from watching. We're going through the great wealth realignment, where affluent people are moving from places like New Jersey, New York, San Francisco, and they're moving to cheaper, warmer places. This article is coming from the Business Insider, but there's been tons of news organizations talking about this. And of course, Florida right now is the #1 growth state in the country. Now, it
has been for a while too, haven't we? I mean,
yeah. Right before COVID, we were actually losing more people for a couple of years. I think it was like 2015 to 2019. We were actually losing more people than coming here, and it was kind of a trend. We talked about it on the show a little bit. It wasn't
never felt that way.
I know
really,
it didn't.
Ever.
But now we're the biggest in the country for growth, and I think we grew like either 1.3 or 1.9% last year over year. Here's a couple of things.
And this is just overall, right?
This is overall.
Population is increasing by so much,
and it's net population.
Right.
So they even check out how many people are leaving Comanche, coming in, and then they figure out net.
Yeah, we're third most populous, right? Behind
We're
California and Texas.
Yep, we're third most populous, but we're the fastest growing state. But number 2 is Texas, right? That's the second fastest growing state right now. And then where everybody's moving, they're right up there. So where are the wealthy people moving? Florida, Texas, North Carolina, Tennessee. Now, out of those 4 states, the people in North Carolina, they're losing money because they have a state income tax. All the other 3 states don't have state income tax. Now, why are they moving to these areas? They're looking for bigger space, meaning not congested cities. They're looking for better weather, and they're looking for lower taxes, right? The pattern is driving up home prices in places like Miami. Even for the highest earners, they're getting not even the people wanting to spend the most money, they're even having a harder time finding good deals out there for themselves.
Sure.
Now, here's a couple of things I thought was kind of interesting in this article. The moving math is undeniably. How come I'm not saying that right? I can't say that.
You're putting the L before the B.
I feel like I'm adding something in there. The moving math is undeniable. I'm changing the sentence around.
Nice.
Someone making $150,000 in New York City can save $50,000 by relocating to Miami, while someone making $650,000 or more could save up to $200,000 making the same move. Between taxes, housing income, all that other stuff, right?
That's substantial money.
Yeah, so we're talking really now. I understand why when you're talking about saving $200,000 a year.
Yeah,
I think I want to do that.
Yep.
Now they said Florida attracted the most new residents of all 50 states, with 738,000 movers, net movers coming to Florida. Texas had 668. Okay. And then actually California is still up there about they had 475,000 people move to California. So that's another thing that is kind of a little bit of a myth. There were, I think, 2 years where California had a net decrease in people leaving and everybody made a big deal about it. But now it's back to net increase again. And nobody's talking about that so much. They keep talking about everybody leaving, right? Which is, I can't believe that people deciding to move turned into a political thing on top of it. You know what I mean? It's just like moving. It's like, oh my God, what is it? Right. Yeah. Here's another thing that's interesting that I thought was in this report was the median home price in Miami in January 2020 was $343,000. 2020. And now it's at 590. This is Redfin, so the numbers are a little off from the MLS, but it's the statistically, it's right. So we went from 340 to 590 in 3 years, right?
Wow.
So all these people that were saying,
that's insane.
So all these people that, in 2020, when they were saying, oh, the prices are too high, and we had 2.65% interest rate, right? And everybody's like, I'm not buying, because the prices are too high. Well, your prices went from 340 to 590 during that time. Good move.
Yep.
Right. I know that that sounds a little hard. I'm not saying people who can't buy or don't need to buy that they should buy. They should not. We're not saying that. But if you've been trying to define the market and figure out, where the market's going, you probably lost out on that unless you got involved in the market. It's almost like playing the lottery. You can't win if you don't play.
Gotta have it.
So if you don't have a house, you don't get appreciation. If you don't have the house or the condo, you don't get to take off taxes for interest and things like that. You just don't get those opportunities, and you don't get the equity in the property. Now, I really feel like Florida over time is just going to get more and more expensive to the point where it's almost like we're in Silicon Valley or something, where everybody's like a millionaire. If you're not a millionaire, you're not living in the area. I think it's
definitely on the coastline.
Yeah, and I really feel like we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, it's happening. Yeah,
it's happening.
And it depends. I mean, I know it's pockets for sure, but I hear stories. I see people that have been on or near the beach for a long time at certain price points are now being pushed west.
Yes,
because it's the dollars are just driving.
You can't control your costs.
Yeah,
everything's going up out of your control. It isn't something that you're doing. Your condo board says, hey, our insurance just spiked up for everybody in this building. You got to pay. You're going from $400 a month to $1,200 a month. And we don't know if it's going to increase again. It depends on the insurance companies. People can't, they can't take those shocks all the time. So it's really going to be changing a lot. Just to show you how crazy this is with the market. If you think that you're outsmarting the market, you're outsmarting yourself. Here's a perfect example. I had a guy, Richard, call me. We helped short sell a house for him back in Boynton a long time ago. And then last year he came to us and asked me to buy a rental property for him for one of his relatives. I'm going to go over real numbers on this because it doesn't matter. We're not putting the house on the market. It was in Lake Park, right? He paid $375 for it December of last year. So we're talking literally 13 months ago, right? He paid $375. He needs to sell it now. I'm thinking, this isn't good, because usually what happens is when you sell a house, it usually costs you about 9% when the smoke clears. That's just a rough number to use. So if you buy a house, you have to get 9% more of it just to break even on what you paid for it, right? Now, if you keep the house a few years, usually there's no problem with the appreciation that makes up the difference. But if you're selling it a year, it could be kind of scary. So what happened was with Richard, he needs to sell it now. So I went over there to take a look at it, and I did the comps. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope after the cost, he might just be breaking even. Well, when he bought his house for $375, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet, 1960s house, but it had a newer kitchen, and it was nice paint job, and the bathrooms were in good condition, and it had a newer roof. It was only 4 years old. So there were a lot of positives in there. But I was like, how much appreciation could he have gotten over this time? Well, in the same neighborhood, I just saw another house that sold for $361. So only $15,000 basically less than he paid for his house, which was in move-in condition. This house was destroyed. Hole in the ceiling in the roof where you can look up and see sky, wow. Okay. Water's coming in. Right. I mean, okay. Destroyed. Everything was original. That person paid $361 like 2 months ago. So looking at his property now, he probably is in the $435 to $450 range in 1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
Months, yeah.
And this isn't a Mac Daddy neighborhood. This is not like highly desirable, higher income neighborhood. This is definitely working class neighborhood in an area that has a little bit of crime. Okay. And he's in a good part of the neighborhood, but still it's right all around him.
Adjacent.
Yep. And that still had, he went from roughly, he got between $60,000 and $75,000 appreciation in 12 months just for making mortgage payments every month.
That's great.
And this is now. This is still
right now. This is happening
now.
Right now. This is from 12/2023 till 12/2022 to January 2024. And 60 to 75,000 appreciation on a 375 purchase price.
Inventory still low. Still help drive these.
That's what's helping a lot. So the people that are sitting on the sidelines, if you can afford it, you're really missing out. I'm not joking about this. You're really missing out if you want to do it. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about why you should buy and not let all the drunk monkeys in your head tell you why you shouldn't do it.
Right.
And there was a gentleman who got very upset on our YouTube page, and he was like, I can't believe that you're trying to get people to leave their super low interest rate to buy a new home at 7%, right? And that isn't what I was saying at all. I was saying if you need to buy, to go ahead and do it, don't let what's going to happen in the future, because what's going to happen in the future in the long run, think about this. Go back all the way to 2003, where we had that boom, the first big boom, right? And then we had that crash in 2006. So go all the way back to 2003 till today, 20 years, right? We just had the most volatile real estate market in that 20 years ever. There's been no real estate market that had a COVID thing, plus that huge increase that we had, during the boom of 03 to 05, plus the COVID thing in that 20 year. We've never had a 20-year cycle in real estate like we just went through.
It was crazy.
And what's happened from 2003 with the biggest crash ever to the biggest boom ever in COVID, and then, where we are right now, we're still way, way up. In 2003, the average home in Palm Beach County was under $300,000, and now we're at six, right?
Yep.
And I think when I say under three, I really think we were like 220, 250, but I'm not looking, so I don't want to say, but we were in the twos. So don't let this real estate market screw over your long-term financial future. There are a lot of people that at their stage in life, they should already be homeowners, according to national economists, of like what trends are for growing families and stuff. And we have the biggest amount of people sitting on the sidelines ever in the history of the United States that normally would be would be homeowners at this point that are not. And they think that this year is going to be a tipping point where the buyers really start coming back into the market. That's what people are saying. We're going to have a special guest next week, Dan DeMott from Keller Williams. He's going to be talking to us about this.
We've had Dan on before. He's awesome on the radio too.
Dan is awesome, and he's very informative. And what I love about Dan is my coach. I respect Dan enough that he's one of the coaches for me. And what I love about Dan is that he's coaching all over the country. So he has top agents just like me all over the country. So he's talking to the top of the top all over the country. So he really knows what's going on. Plus, he talks to Gary Keller once a month, right? From the Gary Keller from Keller Williams.
That's Keller.
And Mr. Keller, who also was just ranked in the top 200 of most influential real estate figures in the industry for the 10th year in a row. He's been in. There's nobody else has been in that group of top 200 for 10 years in a row. So congratulations, Gary.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just think that's really interesting about the change of growth. I don't think that it's going to be getting much better.
Well, if there's a big influx of buyers coming in and the inventory isn't going up, then that means what? Prices are
right, or at least stay flat, not hold tight. We're not losing traction here. Even if we do go through a loss of traction situation, because you're always going to have corrections. I mean, 06 was a correction, right? We were too frothy, got corrected, right? 2019, because the interest rates got so high. 2018, I'm sorry, when interest rates got high that year, that became a correction year, because not as bad as 03, 06, but it was a correction year compared to the years surrounding it, before and after closely, because the interest rates got high. So we'll see what happens with this. It'll be very interesting. I wanted to kind of wrap up today, Johnny. I went on, I went down the rabbit hole on the MLS.
Did you?
Yeah, and I don't always do it, but I was like messing around while I was actually watching Omar Kelly's podcast, the All Dolphins podcast, for an hour and a half last night.
Fins up. Come on.
I'm a big Omar Kelly, Alan Papart podcast guy, the All Dolphins podcast. I really, of course, I like the Locker Room too.
There you go. Yeah.
But that's not a podcast. Right. I'm talking about my YouTube guys, right? So anyway, while I'm listening to them, I was going on. I was like, you know what? I want to see how many properties are actually in my MLS, and I want to find out the cheapest condo, the cheapest single family home, and the most expensive single family home, and just see what's out there. So I went on the MLS last night. There's 39,000 properties for sale, including condos, townhomes, single family homes, mobile manufactured homes, also homes in Venezuela and Costa Rica and Jacksonville, because it's weird on the MLS. You can have properties from anywhere in the world and put them on there on the MLS. So most of it is related to the 6 counties down here, but they do throw in stuff from all over the world. So I took all of those out. I took all the auctions out because I learned something yesterday. There's a whole bunch of houses being sold for auctions, and I'm not talking foreclosure auctions where people sell the house at auction. So I saw a lot of houses for sale starting out at $25. Because it was an auction.
Oh, no kidding.
So they listed
non-foreclosure. They're just like, want to sell my house? Let's auction it.
Yeah. So what they're doing is they're putting them up for $25 and then telling you in the listing, this is an auction. And then it gives you so they listed at 25. So I took all of those out. I'm going to learn more
Did you get involved in any auctions?
No. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to file some of that. I might talk to, there's one agent, Roberto, who I saw had like 15 of these houses. So I think I'm going to call Roberto and find out what's up with that. And maybe he'll come on the show to tell us what's going on with these crazy auctions. Paul doesn't like the auctions. Paul Krasker from Krasker Law. He's not a big auction guy. He always says it's a little scary for the realtor.
Right.
So anyway, let's look at active properties and find out what the cheapest home you could buy right now. What's the cheapest home you could buy right now in South Florida? How much? I can tell you this. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square foot property.
It's $112,000.
I'll say 80,000.
$21,000. It's been on the market 71 days. It's in Port St. Lucie. Jimmy, you probably know about this, and Johnny. Spanish Lakes. Remember in Spanish Lakes, the 55 and over mobile home, manufactured mobole home. Yeah. So if you're really on a tight budget, you could buy.
That's not fair. If you'd have told
us,
that
$21,000, that's the Versa.
Yeah.
From the Nissan Versa. You can buy the Nissan Versa or you can buy the house. What do you want to do?
That's where my parents live. It's in Spanish Lakes. Spanish Lakes 1 is
very affordable community with a lot of features.
And that's why, like, I have that in my mind. That's the only reason why I went as low as I did, thinking it was probably something along those lines, like a manufactured home.
So manufactured home, 21,000. Next,
still, that's even for that, that's super, super low. Yes, that thing is in like I don't know. Is that livable?
yeah. Actually, it was livable. I was looking. I was like, you know what? Maybe because I think you could rent these things out for $1,000 a month.
I'm sure they have.
Yeah, I don't know how much the HOA fees were. I wasn't looking at it, but yeah, it's definitely livable. It's not destroyed. HOA is $903 a month, right? So you're paying $1,000 a month just for the HOA fee. Mobile home, right? Okay, next thing. Next cheapest property on the market. Let's say you said, I don't want any mobile home or manufactured home. That would be condo, townhome, or single family. So the next cheapest is a condo. It's in Miami on Brickell Avenue. And I thought this one was funny. And it's a pool cabana at a condominium. How much do you think a pool cabana in a condominium in the Palace condominium at Brickell Avenue costs?
75.
What do you think?
Yeah, sounds about right. 80 grand.
$33,711.
Holy smokes!
Right. It was $44,711.
Yeah,
so now it's a deal,
there,
and it's only been on the market 522 days.
You have an address?
Yeah. 1541 Brickell Avenue,
Yep.
A306.
In the cabana by the pool.
Get ready to sell my house, Jim.
We're gonna. There you go. You're moving into the cabana.
We're ready for a move.
Waterfront view.
Interesting.
So we're going to continue with this next week and talk about some of these. But I'm going to tell you right now, what do you think the most expensive house on the market is right now in the 39,000 properties? It was only put on the market 11 days ago. It's in the town of Palm Beach.
I want to 2.5 million.
$187,500,000. And let me tell you, this is nothing compared to Mar-a-Lago.
Wow.
Yeah, $187,500,000.
Jesus.
Tarpon Isle, 10 Tarpon Isle, Palm Beach. So if you're interested in a 15,
it's a whole island.
Yeah, it's on an island. It's actually on an island.
Get the island, right?
Yeah. So if you're interested in a 11-bedroom, 15-bath home,
I am interested.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah.
Here's
on, Johnny,
something you
we'll
don't
go
say.
first.
Here's something you don't say. Half bath. There's 7 half baths in the house.
Oh, hey, 'cause you need
7,
that.
right?
Yeah.
And 11 and 15 full baths.
Yeah, that's
Well, you
important.
need those so by the time you get to the full bath, you've got pit stops along the way.
Yeah, because it takes so long to get there.
Wow.
Think I'm in a golf cart, go from one side to the other.
Perfect.
So South Florida, 187 million or 21,000, whatever you want, it's there. We can help you buy it.
what you want, what you need. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. That's your hub. Everything in between, we can do that as well. It's your one-stop real estate shop. Pros, you get them all at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Thank you for being with us on a Saturday. Always remember FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it. It can change lives. Facebook and YouTube as well. Thanks for being with us on a Saturday. Jimothy, we'll be listening. Have a good rest of your weekend. Enjoy the locker room.
You as well, Johnny. Thank you so much, Jim. Have a great weekend.
you too.
And thank you for tuning in.
Yes,
and
thanks,
good luck.
guys.
Good luck to your Bills.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm not
See
saying that.
Well, they're not playing Miami.
Good
I
luck,
know,
good
that's
luck
true.
to the Dolphins too, Jimmy D. Jim
Yeah.
DePola. I hope you have a great
not saying
weekend.
it.
Thank you. Good day.
Locker room's next. We got Joe and Greek. They're going to join Jimothy here and knock out 4 hours of sports for you. And we'll talk, I'm sure, plenty of NFL playoffs. Yeah, we sure will. Florida Talk Real Estate. We'll be back at it next Saturday. 2 hours of infotainment every Saturday right here on Real Radio.